"Hi, Kevin, this is Maisel Roddenberry from LA." And I went, "Oh, it's not. Come on." She goes, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The Universal gave me your number. I want to talk to you about the show that my husband wrote back in 1969. So she actually sent me 3 scripts, and I read them all that he had written. There's a lot of work from him. You guys have no idea what Gene had been writing, quite a bit of stuff. And so I said, you know what, there's 2 scripts that I really like, and I was wondering if we could take the best of both elements and put them together. And she thought it was a great idea. And they brought in the showrunner, and he looked at it and said, yeah, we can make this work. So that's how the whole thing even started. And they came in and said, look, whatever your contract was for seasons 8 and 9 was going to be on Hercules, we will match that pay or play. Now, if you don't know what pay or play means, that they have to pay me regardless. They gave me a 44-show episode, which is unheard of. You just don't get that on a show that's never been on the air yet. They hadn't cast the other 6 actors yet. And I said, they go, we have to shoot in Canada. I said, okay, number 1, you got to make me exec producer. And I get to have final say in the actors, I get final say in directors, and I get final edit. And they said yes to everything. And I was like, okay, it was like the mafia, too. You know, it was too good to say no to it. So that's kind of how I moved on. And as much as I loved Hercules, I was kind of ready to do something else, do something different. So really, that's how the whole thing came about. And I got to go to her house in Bel Air, and I sat in his desk. She kept it the same way he passed away in '92, I think it was. 91. And it was in '91. And I got to sit at his desk and see, I mean, she left everything the same. And it was kind of cool. I was geeking out my own moments there, you know. And he had a shelf over here, and he had 5 different, the sort of the transformation, to figure out what the Enterprise was going to look like. So it was different until you get to the final end. Just little scale models of it, but like amazing. And I looked at her and I said, if I took one of those, would you miss it at all? You know, so I can imagine what the price would be on those. I mean, that's the evolution of that ship. And when she sold the rights to Paramount for Star Trek, for the movie franchise, because they wanted her out. They said, look, as long as you're alive, we'll still do, you can do the computer voice, but we want full control. We don't want anything from you. And they slid a piece of paper over to her, and she went like that. She said, okay. So she takes me golfing at her country club. I'm a big golf guy. And I said, so what did it say? She said, it said $276 million. I'd say goodbye. Okay, that's what they paid her. Isn't that amazing? That's what they paid Nurse Chapel with the turbo boobs. Yeah. She had the Madonna boobs on that show. She did. She had the cone boobs there. Anyway, sorry, little kids in there. Who else? Yes? Well, I had, do you want some of the transformation of how long a time I had between Hercules?
Changing the style of what you were acting.
Well, sure, the style and everything. Well, it's usually in the writing as well, you know. But I had 4 months when Hercules finished before the first day of shooting on Andromeda. So in that 4 months, I did 2 things I thought I would never do in my life. I hired a yoga instructor and a Pilates instructor. Because I'd been lifting heavy for 2 hours every day. I was 235 back then. I'm 215 now. And so I wanted to lose that. I didn't want to be as big. I didn't want to have to worry about lifting weights 2 hours a day, trust me. Because really, I was working 17 to 18 hours door to door. Counting the working hours, set time on set, and stuff like that. Which was great, not complaining, but at the same time, I wanted a little bit more of a life. So my contract was for 12 hours door to door. So if I left at 6 in the morning, I was home at 6. I figured that's enough, you know. And so I did that to sort of lose that. But then in terms of the character, obviously he's, you know, this guy's more immortal, you know. I mean, there were more emotional moments you could take Captain Hunt through. So that was, in itself, that was sort of an interesting change for me. Gordon Wilbert, who played Harper on the show, who to me was the northern, you know, the northern hemisphere of the same. It was like him and Michael Hurst to me were both the same 2 Jack Russell dogs. They're energy beyond energy, you know, non-stop guys. He ad-libs a line in there we kept in the opening episode when the Andromeda comes out of its little, 300-year sleep. And when I'm standing above him with this giant weapon and looking down on him, warning him to get off my ship. He cut to him with all the other crew members that boarded my ship, and he says, "My God, he was huge. He was like a Greek god or something." So, and they kept it in, which I thought was pretty fun. Because we did a lot of stuff like that. I mean, we had moments where we just threw in different shows, and I would come in. I just one episode around a planet, and I came with one of those giant, fake boulders, and they come barging through the door, and they all look at me. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had a Hercules flashback," and I won't. I mean, we had so much fun with that stuff. That stuff was just a fun show. And that crew from that show was most of them were from X-Files, because David Duchovny wanted to move back down to LA, so that crew had been X-Files, and they loved me because it was 12 hours door to door for them as well, since I was pretty much in all the scenes. So they would wrap by 6 or 7 every night, and when on X-Files, by Thursday or Friday, the call time would be 5 or 6 in the afternoon, so they wouldn't wrap until 6 or 7 next morning. So it would just wipe them out. Here they said, this is our first time, they said in 5 years we're able to go home and dinner with our families and stuff. So it was kind of cool. So I stuck to that. We didn't need to. Unlike Stargate, which would go outside a lot, we used a lot of green screen and stayed indoors. Our studios, we had one sound stage for the Andromeda, one for the Eureka Morrow, so we mixed up the stuff that we had to do and did. I was making fun of the Stargate guys. Says, every planet you guys go to looks like Vancouver, British Columbia. Green, big trees, beautiful. There's some planets that probably don't have that. That's what they did. Anything else?
If
Yes.
the networks came to you, and I realize you have a show that's going to come out, but if they said we want a really great sci-fi fantasy show that you could do for 8 seasons and you can star in it, what would you pick? What would you do?
What kind of a show would I pick?
I mean, if you had total creative freedom to do whatever you wanted to, what would you do?
They'd have to come to me too. Do you have an idea?
You can do Hercules in space. I mean, you can do that. You can do whatever you wanted to. But what do you think you'd go for?
I like the space shows. I just do. I think they're fun. Because what's great about the future, you can call BS on it if you want, but you don't know. How do you know what the world's going to be like in 9,000 years? Oh, that would never happen. Really? They watch an actor, I wouldn't die that way. Well, how do you know how you're going to die? It's like you watch people on the screen and stuff. So you don't, it's just hard to say. But I do love I mean, you look at Gene Roddenberry, what a visionary. I mean, those are the cell phones we use today that they used on that show. It's stuff like that you go, wow, this is what's happening today. And I just think that the sci-fi world, I've always been interested in that stuff. I mean, my kids are getting old enough that I can watch Alien and Aliens with them and things like that. I can't wait till they get old enough, because those are great shows to me. It's amazing to me. James Cameron was an amazing guy. When you look at Aliens, to me, that's still like, that was 1986. That movie still plays today. Still it doesn't date itself at all. It's awesome. And first one was pretty cool. First one's more of a psychological thing. I came on 79, I think.
Yeah.
Is that one of the Scots who directed that?
Yep.
Yeah. And that one was very good too. But as a whole, the second one, obviously you bring in the aliens, which you really bring them in. And he was the first guy to use. I mean, when you see them with their weapons, they're on that apparatus, or that's a Steadicam. He's the first guy to use a Steadicam apparatus that the camera guys use, moving around. But he used it on his guns to go around. Well, that's kind of a cool idea, And the Steadicam actually, do you know what show the Steadicam was first used on? Rocky, the original Rocky. If you look at the scenes of him running, look at the scenes running up the steps of Philadelphia, that was a Steadicam guy running right alongside him. That was the first time. And the history of that's pretty interesting. It's kind of cool. And that was back in the mid-70s, right? 76, 77? When did they shoot that? The original Rocky. Late 70s? It was in the 70s, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty sure it was. And Rocky, he wrote that. Balboa wrote that. They wanted Steve McQueen or somebody else in that role. He says, no, it's going to be me. So he stuck by his guns. Obviously changed his life. Yes?
Are you excited for the new Star Trek series?
I called up Rod Roddenberry, but he goes, I got nothing to do with it. I got nothing to do with it. So he really didn't know much about it. I think he's signed off on it somehow. I'm sure he'll get it.
He's one of the producers on it.
Well, they'll give him a producer credit. There's no question about that. They have to. I mean, I think that's sort of kind of be in there. But is it going to air this year, next year?
January 2017. It'll take place 10 years before the original series.
10 years before.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see the actors? I don't know who's involved in it.
No one's seen the actors. They think that some of the aliens.
Huh.
And
You know,
to be a captain, to be a commander.
I wonder if they would get somebody recognizable to start all new again, like they did in the original Star Trek. But Shatner had a career kind of going. I mean, it was funny. I love watching old movies, and my wife had never seen Judgment at Nuremberg. That was the Nazi trials after World War II in Germany. Has anybody seen that movie? Judgment at Nuremberg? Pretty good movie. Shatner's in that movie. If you look at it, he sort of plays sort of a PA along with Spencer Tracy's part. And it's kind of cool. He's like 28 years old in that movie. Yeah. So actually, I sent him an email and told him I was just finished watching a movie. He sent me a nice email back. And you know, it's funny, you do these kind of shows, and because of the Star Trek connection, I've gotten to know Bill pretty well over the last 10 years, which is pretty cool. I've been to his house and stuff, and it cracks me up, because, yeah, I used to be that kid watching reruns back in the 70s and stuff of his show. And that was our excuse in college. I would say, yeah, Mom, I'm studying, and from 10:30 to 11 was Twilight Zone, 11:12 was Star Trek. I was studying. I was very busy. Anything else, guys? No? Yes?
If you get asked this, always you kind of
See, you're asking me these questions, like, I wouldn't have no idea. He wants to know what kind of Star Wars character I'd like to play. You know what, I wouldn't want to do the prosthetic thing. I wouldn't, you know, and I talked to Peter Jackson about possibly doing something with, you know, because my entire crew from Hercules went on to work on Lord of the Rings. And Peter Jackson used to come on the set every once in a while to see how the crew's developing. All the guys, the weather group that did all of our creatures and Herc and Xena won like 5 Academy Awards, you know, for that show, for the Lord of the Rings. So I have a good connection with those guys. And when the third Lord of the Rings, when they won all those Academy Awards, I was invited to their party, and he invited me. He came up to me and said, "Your show was groundbreaking for New Zealand." He said, not only for New Zealand, for the world, because Hercules really kicked off all these action shows. If you think about it, there's really nothing on TV at that time. In our third year, we spun off Xena. The same year, that's when all these other shows tried to copy. They had Conan, they had Sinbad, they had Robin Hood, they had Tarzan, all these other shows. And that's what happens. Whatever show is successful, you see it in movies too. Then somebody else tries to copy, you know, that sort of brand. But that's kind of the way it is. And that's why now the zombie thing is the big hot thing. It's been going on for so long. But it was a really nice compliment from him. But I still said, you still haven't put me in any of your movies. So thanks, Peter. And that's my first time directing on the show. He was on the set along with Roger Donaldson, another Kiwi, that directed The Bounty, one of my favorite movies with Mel Gibson and No Way Out, things like that. And so they're on the set, and I said, "All right, guys, watch. This is how you're really supposed to do it." You know, I got up all cocky. But it was kind of cool to have those guys on the set on my first day ever directing, so it was pretty cool. Yes?
I haven't seen it in entirety, so I apologize, but I did catch a movie where you did a lot of singing and dancing. That little takeoff of the horror, excuse me, the Spartacus.
You call Meet the Spartans, is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's it.
That was the same. That's from the same directing guys that did. They did scary movie, epic movie, date movie. I live about 40 minutes out of LA, so I had a meeting and then I had an audition. So I had 3 hours to kill, and somebody said, "You got to see this movie 300. It's awesome. I love movies like that." We shot up in Montreal. I knew the guys, some of the guys that were around there, some of the stunt guys. It was all green screen. So I went to see it, and I said, "This is a really good movie." But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, okay, they got a giant hole in the middle of the town. How many dogs and kids fall in there? And they're so serious. This is Sparta. You know, so serious. And I said, this movie should be spoofed. It's perfect to be spoofed. 2-3 weeks later, I get a call from the directors. They say, "Hey, we're doing a spoof on 300. I started laughing. And I said, "I don't even need to read the script. I am in." And we shot for 2 months down in New Orleans in July and August. It was hot. And but thank God we were inside for the whole thing. Did the same thing. Hired the same stunt guys, same guys. And the joke was, I'm the only straight guy in Sparta and I can't get laid by Carmen Electra. So that was the joke in the show. And then they made all of us shave. I said, "Can I be the one guy who doesn't shave his chest, doesn't shave his," you know, but we all did shave our body hair. But that movie is so funny. There's a scene where we go into battle. We're supposed to have 300, but there's only 13 of us. And so we hold hands skipping in the battle to Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive." We had to do that take so many times because nobody could keep a straight face. We were laughing so hard. It was, they really should show every scene that take one take of every scene that was screwed up because somebody laughed, because it reminded me as a kid growing up, my mom's favorite show was the Carol Burnett Show. And if you guys don't remember that, people, you know, Tim Conway would have Harvey Korman, they would all try not to laugh, but they would all just be cracking up. And I love that. I love that they can still make each other crack up because that makes you laugh too. So, but it was fun. It was silly, stupid fun. But I love Naked Gun, Airplane. I love humor like that. It's just I have a movie called The Incorrect Man we're trying to raise money for right now. It just makes fun of political correctness. I'm sorry, I think it's overused. It's ridiculous. This movie is so funny. And my character actually ends up in heaven. They made a mistake, so he goes back to Earth, but the line is forever. And he passed the guy on the shoulder and goes, "What's going on? Why is his line so long to get into heaven?" He goes, "Lawyers." I go, "What, there are lawyers in heaven?" So he goes, shocked. He goes, "Well, God felt bad. He let one in, and once he let one lawyer in, you know." So it's so funny. So we gotta get this movie made. Gotta get it made. Yes?
So you've done action, you've done sci-fi, you've done comedy. Is there any other genre that you think is either underrepresented or that you'd really like to do?
I would love to do a movie like, well, I love romantic comedies. I mean, you know, I think When Harry Met Sally, stuff like that. It just makes me laugh. A Fish Called Wanda. You know, some people probably know in here, there was a thing going around about me with, I yelled out "disappointed" when I was a sovereign, one of the episodes. And somebody said, "Oh, there must have been screen direction, you read it wrong." No! That was my ode to Kevin Klein. He says "disappointed" was "disappointed" about 5 times in A Fish Called Wanda, and I just ad-libbed the line and they kept it in there. I mean, that's how the whole thing even happened. I mean, Michael and I would always just come up with these little ad-libs to do each other. There's an episode in Hercules where he plays the widow Twinkie. And he's dressed up as this woman. He's actually directing the episode too, so he's got this fake boobs on and this, you know, purple hair. And I was just laughing, trying to take direction from him. But he says, we threw this, and we worked this out together. Because he says, "We have to change your outfit, we have to get rid of that outfit." And I said, "It's all I ever wear." And he goes, "I know, and I'm sick of it." Because every episode I had the same outfit. You know, Lucy got to wear something different every damn show. Me, those 12-pound leather pants, that's what I got. So, they were 12 pounds, I'm not kidding. They were heavy. 3 layers of leather. So it was a workout in itself, just wearing those pants. But yeah, I would love to do like the Covenant movie, the one that just came out recently with Leonardo DiCaprio. I would love to do some movie like that. I love westerns. I would love to do a western like Jeremiah Johnson. I'm a big fan of Robert Redford and Paul Newman movies. That's why I want to be an actor. If you haven't seen Jeremiah Johnson, I highly recommend it. It's a great movie. I've done a couple westerns and they're fun, but yeah, you know, it's funny, they don't do as many anymore because westerns play well in the States. They don't sell well overseas anymore, which is too bad. And that's where 70% of profits come from overseas. That's, you know, they look at that. That's what they look at, you know, when they make anything nowadays. They gotta look at what's gonna play in Australia or Germany. So they gotta pay attention to that. Anyway. Yes? My favorite movie that I've made? I did a movie called What If that I really liked. It's a faith-based movie, but it's got a lot of comedy to it. John Ratzenberger's in it. Cliff from Cheers. He plays this really sort of smart-ass curmudgeon angel. Comes down from heaven to show how much I've screwed up my life. That the road I was intended to lead was on this road, but I'm on this road. The trouble is, I like the road I'm on. So I kind of go kicking and screaming and going. But it's just Christy Swanson's in it, the original Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. So she's in it. And Debbie Ryan, for anybody who's got kids, probably know her from the Disney Channel. It was just it's a very touching, funny, heartwarming movie. It was just fun to be part of that. You know, so, but yeah, I mean, I actually have fun in pretty much all the movie sets I get on. I like to keep a loose set and have fun with it. You know, I just finished directing one and acting one. Won't come out till next year, called Let There Be Light. It's a Christmas movie. And I have one coming out here in October in theaters called The Spirit of the Game. It's a basketball movie set in the 50s in Australia. And I'm leaving for Ohio in about 3 weeks to shoot a movie up there. So I'm knock on wood, I'm staying busy. I like to stay busy, so I don't sit around too well. Do a lot of speaking events, a lot of speaking gigs. I go home I just came up from Orlando, I just spoke down there, and I go home this afternoon, and then I fly back 36 hours later to Conway, Arkansas to do a speaking event there. So it's just bouncing around a lot.
And your shows are
Two of my boys, yeah, my daughter's back home with my wife, my two boys are with me. I try to, yeah. I mean, we homeschool, so if I'm on a movie set more than 10 days, then they come and travel with me. So that's kind of the rule we made, you know, because absence makes the heart grow fonder for others. So, you know, it's good to try to be together. Anything else?
How do you like doing the con? Being here in Richmond, you know, having people come up and talk to you, have yips running around.
Well, you guys have been great. You really have. I mean, this is. I try to fit in about 5 or 6 of these a year. I get invited probably about 40 a year around the world because Hercules is still in 50 countries, so is Andromeda. By the way, Andromeda, for you fans, it's coming out Netflix and DVD next year. Finally, I know. That was a huge Tribune company that owned the show went into bankruptcy back in 2005. You remember they had to sell off. They sold off everything. If you didn't know this, they at the time the Cubs sucked. I think that was one of their biggest drains because they owned the Cubs. And they owned a lot of radio stations, which are dying out, obviously, because people just go to the internet anyway now for everything. They had papers. We were killing them. They owned the Tribune, and also the LA Times. Less and less people read papers. So they went into bankruptcy, and they had to freeze all their assets. The 3 shows they had was my show. They had Andromeda, they had Beastmaster, and Mutant X. They were all doing good for them. They were doing well. But they had to freeze all of them. We were the #1 show in first-run syndication. Stargate never beat us in the ratings, and yet they got a 10-year run. And we got canned after 5. We would have had 2 more years for sure. So you fans of it, we all got screwed out of 44 more episodes, which no one was happy about, trust me. That's why they sort of rushed to figure out a way to just finish season 5, finish the series. But it's finally, they were in court, I think it was in court for like 8 or 9 years. Because the lawyers weren't making enough apparently, so keep that collusion going. But yeah, so it's finally coming out, which is good. I got sidetracked. What was the question?
I like doing the cons. I like, you know.
Oh, they're fun. I love doing them. You know, I get to travel too. I mean, last year I took my oldest boy was here with me. We did Perth and Adelaide in Australia, so we were there for 2 weeks. And those shows were only Saturdays, Sundays only. So we had 10 days to just see it and run around. I lived in Australia for a while already, once before. I went down to shoot a commercial down there when I was first moved to LA. And I ended up staying, I shot for 10 days and I'm staying for 8 months. My agent didn't like it, but I said, I'm here, you know. And I met a girl on the beach. So it's like, and I had a blast. I mean, I did 2 plays while I was down there and shot 7 commercials. And I had a blast. So I traveled quite a bit around Australia. And then of course I ended up in New Zealand. I shot a commercial down there, a Jim Beam whiskey commercial that went, you guys never got to see it, because at the time they weren't able to advertise hard liquor. And so I went down, it aired around the world, and I was there for about 2 weeks filming this commercial. They did a series of commercials. And I said, wow, this is a really cool place. I'd love to come back here. A year and a half later, I get Hercules and ended up living down there for 7 years. So be careful what you ask for. Only if it turns out good, it's great, which it was for me. So. But yeah, it's good to stay busy. I got time for one more question. Just gave me a warning here. Yes?
What's your favorite beer?
My favorite beer? Max Gold. You probably won't get it here. It's a New Zealand beer. Go online and get it. I bet you can get it somewhere. I bet you some distributor in America has Max Gold beer. It's an awesome beer.
You should try Hardywood here in Richmond.
Hardywood?
Hardywood.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Sounds like a sexual movie to me. I don't know.
It might put you in that mood. Who knows?
It usually works the opposite, doesn't it? It's a depressant, not stimulant. But I like, you know, America. I'm probably was Coors Light. I like a Weiss beer too. Germany has great Weiss beers. I lived in Germany for a while, so I would try. I can't even think of the names of them now. I just know it's a Weiss beer. They call it a Radler or a Russen, and what do they call them? A shanty, I think they call them in Scotland. Shanty. Sort of like a half beer, half lemonade. But the Weiss beer, the Weiss beer itself is it's a yeasty sort of beer. It's not black. It's sort of a dark brown, golden brown. It's a good beer. It takes one, your wife, trust me. Especially have one on a hot summer day. You've been outside doing something. You'll get the desired effect. Anyway, guys, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. I had a great time, and I wish you all well. And KevinSorbo.net, a lot of information there. Trust me.